Well, international tourism to the United States has taken a hit since the start of the Trump administration. While global trade tensions are playing a part, many travellers are also put off by strict border controls and harrowing stories of random arrests. Germans are among those caught up in Trump's crackdown on migration.
Every year, tens of millions of tourists flock to the United States. But this year, international travel to the U.S. is already showing signs of slowing down as tourists are staying put or choosing to travel elsewhere. Some are alarmed by highly publicized reports of visitors with valid travel documents being detained at border crossings. 25-year-old Lukas Silaf from Germany was stopped from entering the U.S. after a trip to Mexico with his American girlfriend. He was shackled and held for 16 days before being allowed to return home last month.
I get a lot of questions from people who want to visit America, and I try to help them and tell them my experience, that they need to be careful. It's just dangerous. It changed dangerous, and nobody is safe there anymore to come to America as a tourist.
Many observers believe the problem is this man. President Donald Trump's polarizing rhetoric and policy actions, such as his on-again, off-again tariffs, are turning people off visiting the U.S. One industry research firm is projecting a 9.4% drop in international visitors to the United States this year. Data from the U.S. government confirms the trend. It shows overseas visits fell 11.6% in March compared with last year. And the number of Canadians crossing into the U.S. dropped a whopping 32% last month. Canadians make up the largest group of foreign tourists in the U.S., generating some $20 billion in spending annually. But attacks by Trump on the country's economy and its sovereignty, like this one.
So I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
Have led to a nosedive in cross-border travel.
The Golden State and Canada have always shared so much in common. Sure, you know who's trying to stir things up back in D.C., but don't let that ruin your beach plans.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is urging Canadians to ignore the president's comments. This week, he unveiled a tourism campaign calling on Canadians to return to California, saying his state has lots of sand, wine, and warmth for its neighbors to the north.
Because here in California, we've got plenty of sun.
Adrienne Wright is a Canadian who now lives here in Germany. I asked her how she feels about visiting the US.
Well, I've pretty much decided I'm not going to be doing that for the next 4 years, which is kind of tragic because I do have a daughter living there. And yeah, that means I wouldn't be seeing her for 4 years because at the moment with her status, she wouldn't want to leave the country in case she's stripped of her visa. She's up to getting another visa next year. So I think if that all works out and she doesn't, that works out under Trump, then I think she'd be fine to leave. But I have a bit of a struggle with that whole concept of traveling to the U.S. and putting my money in that country.
And is that what it's about? Tell us more about your reasons for boycotting the States.
Well, I am, as a Canadian, I think the first thing that came out of Trump's mouth that alarmed me as a Canadian was the threat to become, that he wanted to annex Canada and make us the 51st state, speaking to Justin Trudeau as a governor. That was such a slap in the face for myself and for really all Canadians, everybody that I happen to know, and all sorts of American friends. So it was, for me, it's also his DEI policies. I have a lot of gay and lesbian friends, and I see myself as being a very liberal person. I'm very a person who really embraces all cultures, all nationalities. I speak 3 languages. What the heck is he doing?
And so you seem to imply there that this is not, you don't see yourself as being isolated in this attitude. You see similar decisions being made. Go on, you see similar decisions being made amongst family and friends?
Yeah, most definitely. So my husband is on board. I have another daughter who lives in the UK, and she is also feeling exactly the same way. And I mean, just the hard part is it feels like we might not be able to see my youngest daughter, her sister, for a while. And I'm also a bit worried because I'm being very vocal about my position and about how I feel about the regime. And I have, heard things of, phones being confiscated and people not being allowed entry because they're being, tracked in some way. And there have been definitely people that have had absolutely every reason to have been allowed into the country. They've been detained and put into detention for 10 days or more without having any access to anybody to help them. It's shocking.
And what would need to change for you to consider going back to the United States?
I would have to say bye-bye President Trump. I would like to see that he doesn't make it through the next 4 years. I do not believe that that this is going to end well if he does stay in power. And I am fairly frightened, even though I live in Europe. I'm frightened. We spend a lot of time in Canada. I'm not sure where that's going. We have an election coming up, and I'm hoping that it's going to go the way I would like to see it go, so that we hopefully have somebody who's going to stand up to this tyrant.
And if we look ahead to the future, let's say President Trump sees out his term. He constitutionally, as it stands now, is not allowed to continue. What if there's a President J.D. Vance? Are you stuck in Europe for the rest of the foreseeable future?
Perhaps. I mean, I guess I will get worn down eventually. I have to admit, I get worn down eventually when it comes to my daughter. My children are everything to me. So me not going over there right now has a lot to do with the fact I actually don't think I would get there. I just want to make sure that I am still able to see my daughter, at least once a year. She lives in California, so it's, a 9-hour time difference and a 10-hour flight. So it's not easy. But yeah, I think something really does have to change. I really hope so, for the world, actually, not just for me.
Thanks for talking us through that. We wish you well. Adrienne Wright, a Canadian living here in Germany. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.